Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Psychology of Wellbeing, getting underneath the surface and figuring out how to live a radically well life. And before I introduce our guests, I want to mention our sponsor, CoSpace. CoSpace is a really cool new concept where they rent treatment rooms by the hour. So if you're a practitioner and you have a clinical license, whether it's massage therapy, psychotherapy, this is a great place to come and bring your clients as you build your practice. So eventually, when you have 30 hours of practice hours in with your clients, maybe then you can go and get your own place. But until then, check out CoSpace. And they are right now in South Florida, but they have huge plans to expand. That sounds good, doesn't it, Laura?
That's a nice option.
So I want to introduce everybody, and I'm really excited about our topic today. Laura Mazzotta, she is a licensed clinical social worker. She's also certified in the Akashic Records and is a Reiki teacher. And if you're not familiar with Reiki, that is an energy type healing. And so she sounds like you're a good balance between the psychological, scientific training and also maybe some of the spiritual and energy type trainings.
Yes.
So welcome to our show today. We're really excited to have you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate being here.
Yes, and today's topic is actually really near and dear to my heart. I started a company in about 2007, and it was in the massage and spa world, and I had identified with my partner a significant deficit in self-care for massage practitioners. And so we created a company called iMassage, and the sole intention of it was really to bolster practitioners in their own well-being as they exerted so much energy into taking care of other people. And that's our topic today. How do we help and support practitioners in their own practice? And I don't like to call them caretakers, but as they invest their time and energy in caring for others, how do we help them? So why don't you kick off our topic with your initial thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things that I've learned is how critical it is to have boundaries set. And we all hear that all the time, right? We hear about set boundaries and make sure you take care of yourself first. But especially during times like when there's collective chaos or there's a lot going on, like a global pandemic.
Right? Right now.
Exactly. We tend to be drawn, if we're heart-centered, caretakers, as you said, we tend to be drawn to saying, oh, well, this is the time when I need to step up and really be there. And yes, that's our natural inclination, but we also need to balance that with make sure your boundaries are also firmer than they were before, because people are really needy right now. They're very in need. And that's good that they're asking for help, and it's good that they're reaching out. But when you set boundaries, you are telling them, you're modeling for them, I'm taking care of me first. Right? I'm taking care of me first. And I'm also providing myself with enough resources energetically to be able to respond to you in a very soothing and compassionate way, because I've given myself time and energy. So I'm not depleted.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, in times of chaos, there's a good chance we're not eating as well. We're not exercising as much. We're not sleeping as well. And so our own personal body becomes depleted. So it's almost as if you don't have the reserve that you would normally have. And then if that's being met with almost like more demand, then, it's definitely a track for self-depletion. So let's talk about boundaries a little bit, because like you said, we hear that a lot. Set boundaries, set your boundaries. So do you have an example maybe of some work you've done with somebody, or what does that look like to set a boundary?
Right. So to set a boundary, the first thing that I do is that I plan on my calendar, I plan out my self-care first, and then I figure out what my client slots are going to be. So I make sure that okay, so in the morning, I'm going to meditate. And then in the evening, I'm going to take a bath. Or in the middle of the day, I need to do some breathing or journaling or whatever it is I need to do for myself. I have learned that I plan all of that first. And then I decide which slots are open on my calendar for clients to book, because that puts me in a position where I am giving myself time to be resilient, and giving myself time to kind of clear my energy. And then the spots that are available for them are fully open for them.
How would you share maybe a practice on verbalizing a boundary to somebody? So if you feel like you're clear, you have the clarity in yourself. Okay, these are the areas I can put my energy towards, and then you feel other people coming in. How do you communicate with somebody? Can you give an example of setting a boundary with somebody so that you do take care of yourself?
Yeah. So one of my favorites is those people who like to message me all day, every day. So my favorite one for that is, I so appreciate your eagerness to be able to reach out and be invested in helping shift a lot of the ways that you're managing your emotions or managing your life. And I want to be available to you, but currently I don't have space in my practice to be able to accommodate that level of connection. So what I would really encourage you to do is take all of those notes and put them in your notes section or put them in an email to me, because that way you're not just venting randomly, you're not just journaling, you are communicating to me directly. And then I will read that email when I am available. And sometimes that's going to be like one time in between our session, and sometimes I'm not going to be able to respond at all. If you need a very specific question answered, then you need to note that very clearly in the email so that I can get back to you. And if I'm overwhelmed or if there's too much going on, unless it's an emergency, I will not be able to reply. And these are notes that we will save for our next session.
That sounds like that is supportive for you, to be able to get to a place where you can be so clear in your communication, because even as you were talking, I was almost envisioning the chaos that happens if you don't set those boundaries. So if you have 3 or 4 people that you've been meaning to set a boundary with, and they're interfering, or not interfering, but coming into your life throughout the day with this, that, and the other, and they're off on different emotional trails, not only is it exhausting for them, but it's definitely going to be exhausting for you. So there's benefit to be clear and be firm, but some people have a hard time with that. What would you say, for somebody who I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, I don't want them to think I'm not there for them. How do you work through that?
So I have a couple thoughts on that. One is that it really disempowers the client. You want to give them the personal power to be able to work through what they need to work through on their own. And by you saying I don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever, you're kind of walking on eggshells a little bit. And I understand a lot of people are fragile, but at that point you say, listen, this is the capacity at which I'm able to work right now. I completely understand if you need additional support, but that to me is really a cue that person might need a higher level of care. And at that point you can say, listen, there's programs, or we can get you into a group that offers you an additional meeting once a week, or we can talk about scheduling twice a week if that's something that you need, and so you're honoring the level of need, you're honoring what they need at the time, and you're saying, this is what I'm capable of offering you. And if that works for you, awesome. And if it doesn't, I have some beautiful resources that you can access in addition to our work together.
That's great. And regarding practitioners, and another segue for them is, obviously it's really important to have a sense of clarity and focus in their practice. What are your thoughts on helping practitioners maintain that clarity and focus in their work?
So, the main thing that's helped me with clarity and focus is meditation. And it's unbelievable. It was recommended to me for so many years. And I said, yeah, no, I'm not good at that.
I still kind of struggle with that a little bit.
I was I'm terrible at it. It sucks. It's not for me. And then I actually started practicing it. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really effective. And what I can say is a couple things. One is when you're going into meditation consistently for yourself, and listen, you don't have to do this 20 minutes a day. You can literally set aside 1 to 2 minutes daily by staring into a candle flame. It really doesn't have to be this big, process of becoming the best Buddha in the world.
Putting on your robes, so you don't have to do that.
Exactly. So just 20 minutes a day, but what you're doing is you are not only setting a commitment for yourself and telling yourself you deserve this, you're important, right? You're connecting to a higher version of yourself, which is a much greater level of wisdom than we experience when we're just accessing, our conscious minds, You're getting a little bit deeper. You're getting to that resiliency level. So the more consistently that you meditate, the more you're going to be resilient when you feel stressed out, when you feel overwhelmed, when you're feeling indecisive. Not only can you rely on that wisdom, but I promise you, your baseline changes. So if it takes normally this much to go off, right? When you start to meditate, it's going to take this much to set you off. You're shifting your baseline.
Mm. I like that. It's like you have more runway.
Definitely.
Then there's a cliff.
Exactly.
Some of us are like right here near the edge of the cliff, but if we meditate, we have a little more runway.
And it's amazing. I mean, I have patients that are, full-blown OCD, even psychotic, things like that. And they will use meditation consistently. And then say 30 days later or 60 days later, they'll say, stuff just doesn't bother me that much anymore. And it's really a magical, powerful tool. It just requires consistency at the beginning. If you can kind of stick to it for a minimum of 21 days, you're good.
Yeah. And there really are some apps, very simple apps. I can't, do you know of an app?
Oh yeah. Oh, yes. So one is Insight Timer, and that's my favorite.
Timer.
Yeah. Insight Timer is a free app. They have beautiful meditations. And what I love about meditations, you can choose time frames. You can choose I only want to meditate for 5 minutes.
Exactly. That's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a great one. So Insight, we'll put that link in the comment, guys, so you can access that. But I love stuff like that because it makes it accessible for everybody. Because sometimes if we think about starting a yoga practice or we think about meditation, you think, oh my gosh, I have to be perfect at it, or I have to be really flexible, or I have to be limber, or I have to dedicate 20 minutes every day and think of nothing. Where, what you're saying is start simple, just start. And whether it's 2 minutes, build up to 5 minutes, build up to 10 minutes. Do you practice meditation every day?
I would say most days, because sometimes I do use the Akashic records and I kind of meditate in there. So, but I would say the vast majority of the time, yes. And I really like, the other one is the Deepak and Oprah's meditation challenges. And they offer them free on a very regular basis. And those are lovely. They're wonderful.
Yes. I have a funny Deepak Chopra. I keep waiting for the day when I meet him and I actually get to tell him the story. But I bought one of his playlists of meditations. And so literally I would listen to his voice and go to sleep every single night. So I never actually heard the whole playlist of his meditations. And I'll never forget, because in one of the sessions was on healing your physical body. So he would say in his, his voice, I heal your brain, I feel your head, I heal your head, I heal your hands, or whatever. But I woke up, and this is funny. I literally woke up right at the moment when he said, I heal your anus. It scared me because I woke up in the middle of the night. My heart started pounding. I was like, what? What's he talking about? I cannot wait to tell him that story.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Deepak, because I really appreciate that.
I'm just so glad you're healed in that area. Isn't it?
Right? It's all, hopefully it stays that way. So one of the topics you wanted to talk about was not attaching to client outcomes. I think that, for me, because I've been a business consultant and a coach, and I definitely can find myself attaching to success, them being successful and trying to force it almost. So what's your advice on us taking care of ourselves by not attaching to those outcomes?
Well, I mean, listen, my friends, attaching to an outcome is all about you and not about the client. It's entirely about you trying to make yourself feel better, feeling successful, feeling like you're doing a good job, looking for validation and reassurance. So great. Use that as a cue for yourself, right? To say, okay, well, oh my gosh, this person isn't getting better. Okay, well, you know what? It's their journey. It's their path. They might not be ready for this stage of treatment or what have you. And at that point, you then reevaluate with the client. Where are we? This is where we kind of wanted to get. This is what we're doing. These are the steps you're taking toward it. And really, you're assessing motivation. Where are you with being motivated to make these shifts and changes in your lives? And when you find that you're working harder than your patient is, then it's time for you guys.
Their stuff, right?
Exactly. Then that's a good time to reevaluate if this is the right level of care, if this is the right fit, if you guys need to be taking a different direction with your treatment plan, and really assess it that way. Because when you're really attached to the outcome of your patients, and you're really worried about the reflection it has on you, right? And what that means for you. So I would use that as a cue when that comes up for you to say, okay, what is my definition of success, and do I need to redefine it for myself? Because I'm clearly attaching so much of my pride and who I am and my own self-definition to the outcome of my clients. We don't have control over other people, my friends. We're not here in treatment with people so that we can force them into an outcome to make ourselves look better. That's more about us.
Yeah. And sometimes we try to force them into the definition of who we think they should be, and it may not be their actual path or their actual journey. So it almost causes violence in a way, not violence as in, you're smacking them, but violence as in you need to be the way that I envision you need to be, which probably causes some dysfunction in that dynamic.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happens in our personal lives, that we can see potential in someone that we love, and we can get frustrated with them because we think, oh my goodness, you have so much potential. You could be here and you're here, and that's not to decide, that's not our path. We can model for them, and we can hold space and say, like, listen, I am more than happy to guide you. And these are the tools and the approach that I take. And if that fits you right now, awesome. And if it doesn't, I wish you the best.
Yeah. And I would say some of the clarity that comes around being able to relinquish your grip on patient outcomes is also realizing that, we need to relinquish that expectation that somebody else is going to save us almost, because I think a lot of us think, if my boss was different, or if my partner was different, or why can't they fulfill these needs for me? And if we are coming from a place of strength and understand that nobody was put on this earth to fix me, that I can take more responsibility if others are in my care, and step back and let them manage their own journey.
Right. Because once again, you're disempowering them if you're taking all the responsibility and the work onto yourself. You're really not going to truly assess where they are and their level of motivation and drive to move forward if you're doing everything for them, or if you're allowing them to be kind of codependent on you. And it's the attachment to outcome piece, I feel, is it's very ego driven, and it's something that I love to use as a cue for my own inner work.
Yeah.
Find your own supports, connect with somebody who can assist you with kind of excavating some of that stuff that might be a little deeper for you. Because I love that you brought up the savior mode, because savior mode is about the fact that there's something within us that we need to have saved. And so then we feel like, oh, if we save everybody else, then it's healing me. And yes, that is true, but it's only a temporary Band-Aid, and it's not going to carry you long term. And it's really not fair to the client.
Yeah. There was something I got clear on a few years ago, and it was really around radical self-care and self-focus. And what I saw, because I've been in the health and wellness industry for a while, and I am surrounded by people that are in the spa and massage and acupuncture and all these industries, and they put, and their wives and husbands and parents, and they're taking care of parents. And so I would see them giving and giving and giving and giving and giving at the sacrifice of themselves. And a clarity came in me. And I thought, if I was radically well, if I was doing what I loved in the world, if I was taking care of my body, if I was taking care of my mental and emotional health, if I felt good, if I felt attractive, if I felt all these ways, I could give exponentially so much more to the people that I interact with, because I'm coming from a place of strength and confidence and reserve, versus starting to get resentful or feeling like I'm not, everybody else is important, but I'm not, and not even seeing that that's my own choice. And I would say to anybody listening to this, that when you put your focus on yourself and you become the highest evolved person that you can be, your ability to impact everybody else will grow exponentially just by being yourself and being happy and being healthy, versus giving all the time.
Exactly. And I've been there, done that, Yeah. And now my mantra for everybody is you first, then them. Always you first, then them. Because it's true that you have that, if you take responsibility, and responsibility is the key here, because you also want your patients to take responsibility. You want your clients to take responsibility. You want to, again, empower them to do that and help them learn how to do that. And you can temporarily guide them, but when you are a solid pillar of strength and confidence, nothing can rock you, because when things come into your world and you think, then you know very quickly, all right, that's not in alignment with who I am. That's not in alignment with how I practice. You know, I compassionately will give you another referral, or I will compassionately, you know, assist you with finding a new way to do this, because it's true. We are unshakable when we have our own pillar of confidence secured.
Yeah. What are your practices when you mentioned something there that caught my interest around kind of letting a patient go, or letting the client that you're working with go? Obviously that is setting a boundary. That's probably the ultimate boundary. How do you go about compassionately first acknowledging that I don't think this relationship is working, and then how do you communicate that in a way that is not harmful?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the time this comes up because the patient is always canceling, or is not showing up for sessions, or is not following through with whatever it is, and they're not getting any better. And then, you know, blaming everyone, everything. And so being able to say, listen, this is how I currently see things. And it seems like you are not necessarily in agreement with the way that, you know, my perspective, with the way that I'm assessing this clinically. And I totally appreciate that. But I want you to know that my approach going forward with you is going to be based in this understanding, because I really firmly believe that this is what's going on, and this is the dynamic that's existing. And if you're not in agreement with that, I do have other people that I could recommend that you speak to, and you could at least talk to them and get a sense of, okay, what does this relationship feel like? And how does it feel in comparison to my relationship with Laura? And what kind of work could we do? And then we can also get back together and talk about that, you know. But the important piece here is for you to reach your goals and to be your best self at the level that you can or want to be right now. So that's one of the classic ones. Or another one is, listen, like, this is how much kind of time and space that I have in my schedule and my practice, and this is how I have to run it, because I do put me first. I need to take care of my health and my own vitality, and so I need to structure it this way. And I completely understand if that doesn't serve your needs right now, but unfortunately I can't give you more. You know, and it really making it more about me, because it really is about me. Like I'm saying, this is what I can offer, you know, and it's giving them a choice, which encourages them to really take that responsibility and make a decision. Because a lot of the times this happens with patients who cannot make a decision to save their lives. And that's why they're having trouble, like, committing to doing stuff or showing up.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to set the boundary, take care of yourself, but do it in a way that's not blaming or pointing the fingers, making them feel like they have something wrong with them.
Yeah, and this is, I think, the most important part. Regardless of what words you use, please come from a compassionate, heart-centered space, because even if this is a patient that's been pissing you off for 6 months.
I'm sure every practitioner, regardless of what they do, they have those clients that piss them off.
Well, I mean, human relationships, we're going to agitate each other, right? So, I mean, it's going to just come up sometimes. And so it's really important for the practitioner to not place blame on the client, or say like, well, this is their fault, or they're needy, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. You know, really coming from I wish that I could help you, because I would love to be able to offer that to you right now, because I really, really want to. But I also know I have to stick to what's right for me, most importantly, you know. And if you come from a heart-centered space, your clients are going to feel that, unless you come from like, you know what, you're pissing me off, I gotta go.
Right. They'll get the message, but maybe it'll be a little more, it won't fit the do no harm mantra.
Right, exactly.
So what would your thoughts be for really advising or counseling people that are in this space to seek help themselves? Like, what are some of the signs and symptoms that, regardless of what type of practice they're running, they need to get help too? Because sometimes I would think, I don't know, maybe that's hard for somebody to do on their own.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're finding yourself confused a lot and very indecisive yourself as to where to go with a case, that's certainly one opportunity where you're going to either, number one, seek supervision, or number two, if you find that there's a theme coming through certain clients or certain types of sessions, it may be bringing something up within you that you need to do your own work on. It's like a countertransference kind, in a transference kind of issue, you know, where you really need to go and explore, all right, what is the theme that seems to be digging something up in me or I'm having an emotional reaction to. Also, if you find yourself complaining about clients a lot, you're already in burnout mode. If you find yourself feeling like super overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this patient all the time or these patients all the time, that's a sign that you either need to set a greater boundary with the client, they need a higher level of care, or you need to really get closer to that pillar of confidence within yourself through your own work, through meditation, and just connecting to your higher self, whatever route you feel is most fitting for you.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't need a lot of worn out people who are stressed out, griping about their client load, or, and then they're.
Definitely, it feeds the negative energy. And I also want you guys to see it as we're all in this together. Like, this is collective. This is collaborative. So, grab a support group with other clinicians and sit down and chat. If there isn't one that exists, create one. Jump online, be like, hey, I'm opening up a Zoom link. Any therapists want to join me? Because I need some support and guidance. If you find you don't get in and just complain, because that's negative energy, right? And it's doing what we're telling our clients not to do. But just get together and say, clearly, my feeling of agitation or unrest or dis-ease in this area indicates that I need more guidance and feedback. So reach for it.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice, especially in these times when, everything is a little more chaotic than normal. And so, I'm usually a pretty grounded person. I'm positive, I'm action oriented. And, there have been moments when I've been out in the world and I have a little, I feel like my chest, I walked into a big department store and there were so many people walking around me. I literally felt my chest tighten physically. And I was like, I have never had like a sense of kind of panic and anxiety like that. And everybody's feeling that on different levels. And so those of us who are responsible for, helping guide and heal other people must take care of themselves. And that's really what our conversation has been about today. So is there anything else you want to leave with? Any other thoughts you would like to share before we kind of wrap up?
I was just going to say, on the heels of what you were just mentioning, is that also, if you wake up one day and you are just dreading going to work, just take a mental health day right now. Right now, we're going through with this collective chaos, because it is true that as therapists, as clinicians or coaches or light workers, we are sensitive, and we are absorbing some of that energy, and we are impacted by that, whether we see it or not. Same thing with our clients. For years, I thought, oh, this is cake. Like, you know what? I come home, I'm good. I leave it behind, no problem. There were things that were building under the surface that I just didn't have awareness of at the time. So make sure that you carve out that time. Don't wait until you're feeling it necessarily to carve out time for self-care, because by that point, you're already burnt out. So stay ahead of it. Say like, oh, I'm going to take a sick day once every 6 weeks or once every 4 weeks or whatever you feel serves you. To preventive. The more preventive you can be, the better off everybody is.
Laura, you have been a delight. You're like a beautiful mix of empathetic energy, but also clinical and clear. Your tips are very on point. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure everybody who will watch this episode appreciates it. So let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and some of the services that you offer. And I'm going to put up your website or your email here so they can reach you at emergehealingandwellness@gmail.com and share with us some of the services that you offer.
Sure. I do offer courses online for learning different strategies and tools for helping with your, just managing stress and getting in touch with that solid, confident you. But right now, I have a call that I'm offering called Clarity and Decisiveness when working with clients, so that I can assist therapists, coaches, and healers with kind of those areas where there might be gaps for them, either personally or professionally, and impacting this solid pillar and feeling really confident and decisive, and that they're clear on their decision making so that they don't feel confused or nervous after they're working with clients. So that's a free call. It's 30 to 60 minutes. And we just kind of get together and assess where you are, where do you want to be, where are you now, where do you want to be, and what are those gaps that we can kind of fill in for you.
That sounds like a great way. And then, so in the comments, when this video posts, go ahead and push that link in there so anybody can find that and be able to reach out to you directly, or they can reach out to you on the website.
Yeah, that's my email. My website is theakashictherapist.com.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yep, we'll drop that in the comments too, so everybody can get in touch. But thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to thank all of you viewers for tuning in. And remember, Well World TV is all about helping people up level, share positive and inspirational messages. If you feel like there's something in yourself that you want to express in a bigger way, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me directly, as I will be waiting to hear from you. Debra K at wellworld.tv. I will work with you directly and help you share your brilliance with the world. And also you can find us on social media. It's very simple, at Well World TV. So whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, type in Well World TV and you will find us. Give us a follow, because we're going to have a lot more bright lights, just like Laura, on a variety of different shows coming up. So thank you so much, Laura, for joining us today and sharing your wisdom. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.